What up, people? Just wanted to hop on while doing cardio. Thought this might be a nice new segment to switch it up. I'm going into my 6th or 7th prep, something like that. I can't remember. I've done quite a few preps now, and with every prep, you learn a little bit about yourself. You learn a little bit about like optimizing things and what could you do differently next time you go through. So I'm just going to go through a couple things that I wish I would have known prior to doing my first show, prior to doing nationals, prior to doing my pro debut, and just a couple things that can ultimately make smoother sailing for you and your household. So number one, it's prep planning. So every time I have an athlete come to me about, I'm gonna do a show in April, for example, I sit down, I say, okay, well, typical preps are 20 weeks. Where does that put you? Okay, put you in December. What's in December? Christmas. So are you going to be willing to maybe sacrifice that Christmas meal? Okay, what else is in there? Oh, Valentine's Day. Not gonna be able to take the wife out to dinner. Sorry, is what it is, you know? A lot of people just do not understand that when you commit to a prep, you're committing to missing out on certain things, certain holidays, certain special occasions. So that's super important, you know? What am I going to miss out on? What special events do I have coming up? Do I have vacations coming up? And what is that gonna look like for my prep? For example, when I did my last prep, I went to Mexico at 10 weeks out. We planned ahead that I'd get a little ahead and be able to enjoy some time with family in Mexico because the push was to do Wasatch due to it being in my hometown. However, that ended up setting me back. So when I came back, my prep was dramatically harder. It was dramatically more stressful. And honestly, I think it hindered me in a lot of ways. I had to get super flat, super depleted, and I think it affected my look. I also moved. If you plan on moving, 10 out of 10, do not try to do a prep. Way too much stress, you know, selling your house, buying a house, moving out of state, all those things are gonna add to stress. So, prep planning. The second thing, if you are in a relationship, let's look at how the prep is also going to impact our partner. For example, my wife is an accountant. So in April and October, it's extremely busy. So unfortunately this year I did a show in April and I'm doing a show in October. But with that being said, that just means I'm getting no help. You know, obviously Nikki will do as much as she can, but I'm not relying on her like I typically do to help with meal prep, cleaning, you know, staying on top of the shit. I have to do more around the house. I have to handle all the dogs. So if you have a wife who say she's going through finals or she has school, that's something to look at, because although it's an individual sport, it's a partnership with your spouse and they're investing time, they're investing energy, and you want to make sure that everything is cohesive and running smoothly inside your home. So that's a big thing. The other thing, travel. So if you're traveling for a show, one thing that I personally do is I cook all my food before and I individually package it. So typically if you're going into peak week, you know what your food's normally going to look like in terms of protein. So cook out the days, individually freeze it. So say you're doing like 6 ounces of chicken, freeze your chicken. The things that do not freeze well and stay well are vegetables, which most of you shouldn't have vegetables in peak week. That can impact bloating. And the other thing is rice. Rice tends not to freeze well. So if you want to just cook the rice and keep it cold, that is doable. Or I'd recommend either flying a small rice cooker or finding a place which has a rice cooker. So that kind of segues me into my next point. If you're traveling for USAs, nationals, a pro show, I always recommend getting an Airbnb. Because yes, it is nice to be at the host hotel. I'm not going to deny that. However, I've done an Airbnb at every single one of my shows except for Wasatch Warrior, where I did the host hotel. And I had to go find a portable stove to cook my food on, an electric stove. I didn't have a kitchen, so I was washing my shit in the sink. And it's honestly just a big headache. And being calm and relaxed and feeling almost at home wherever you're traveling is going to pay its dividends. My best showing ever was probably LA or USA's, and both of those extremely calm, extremely cool. USA's, I was staying with JR, so it was super easy. Like, I had him covering me with shit. And then LA had a nice Airbnb 5 minutes from the venue. It was super chill, and I think that definitely impacted my look. You know, I was able to set the room to a good temperature. I had a kitchen, it had a rice cooker, Instapot, all this shit that I could use. So that made like a huge difference. Now, in terms of show, what are things that I learned that will help you on show day? So, number one, find a good tanner. You know, the color of your tan makes a huge difference. So a lot of people will just go with the normal venue tanner. I've done that very few times. I tend to go to a third party, and if you're doing any, you know, LA shows or California shows, reach out to me, because I have someone that I can hook you up with. Lori at Cheat the Beach, best tan. Go look at my color at LA, go look at my color at USA's, compare it to my color at Wasatch. You'll see a noticeable difference. So that's a huge thing. The second thing is, you know, really prioritize sleep and relaxing. So elevate your legs, you know, try to be off of them as much as possible. Get adequate amounts of sleep. If you have issues sleeping, communicate that with your coach. There are certain things, certain supplements or, you know, tricks that can help with sleep. A good coach knows what to do to bring down nerves, get you good sleep. One thing that I always have my guys do, which I do personally, is small walks after every meal. I only recommend this during peak week, outside of your extra cardio or whatever. Typically, cardio's down, trying to be off your feet as much as possible. However, going for like 10-minute walks, 5-10-minute walks after each meal, it's gonna help a lot with your digestion, especially with all the supplements that you're taking that week. If you're using any diuretics, all these things are going to impact your digestion. So move around, get moving, nothing extremely strenuous, just helps move things around. The next thing I would recommend for anyone doing a show is practicing your posing. I would recommend doing this at 8 weeks out, every single day. Should be waking up, like my morning routine, I wake up, I do my vacuums. I typically do about 5 to 10 minutes of vacuums. I do like 30-second holds, and then I run through my posing. Because when you start at 8 weeks out and you put your hand into your side or whatever division, you're gonna feel soft. This is normal. You're not supposed to be looking peeled at this point in time. However, that's gonna come off. So start getting the muscle memory, start getting the confidence, because when you get down to the wire, if you haven't been practicing your posing, it can be the difference from first call outs and third call outs. So, and within that, posing conditioning is a real thing. Being able to get up there, hold your poses, and look statuesque for an entire round is going to separate you from the guy who has to continuously reset. You know, it wears on them. And every time you reset, that gives the judges an opportunity to look at you and find a flaw. So that also goes towards your transition. In comparisons, when you're doing transitions, don't do that. Front pose, quick to the back as possible. Back pose, quick to the front as possible. I typically tell people to just do a 2-step. If you don't know what that is, hit me up for posing. I offer posing. We'll get it dialed down, but all my posing clients, I tell front to back, you're the first one there. Nobody beats you. Because not only do you get enough time or more time for the judges to look at you, you're also able to get set up so you're not getting boxed out. It's tight up there. They don't always tell you to spread out. So it's important for you to get your positioning first and hold that positioning. Make everyone else struggle, you know? So that's a huge thing for me as well. And then post-show, I always recommend to set yourself up for success. If you're like me and you're a binger, you eat like shit, don't have too much temptation in the house. You know, I always tell people, enjoy your food Saturday, enjoy your food Sunday, Monday you're back on. And it is extremely important to set yourself up for success. If you have a bunch of treats, donuts, snacks, and shit at your house, you're not setting yourself up for success. If you go out to eat Saturday or Sunday night and you have a ton of leftover food, just throw it out. Eliminate the temptation. Back on your shit the next day. And then fluids. I personally attribute me having good reverses to me getting in my fluid the night of the show. I always get it in. I don't know if there's a ton of science back behind it, but I've done it both ways. And every night post show, I try to drink almost 4 to 5 liters of sugar-free Gatorade. Get my electrolytes back up, replenish that water, and I always wake up looking great the next day rather than pounding food, not getting any water in, giving yourself an edema, and then you look like shit. All that hard work is in the toilet. So these are a couple tips and tricks that I've learned going throughout prep that have really helped me, you know. Lessons that I've learned, things that I try to instill moving forward. And, you know, I always tell people proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So if you are failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And if you want to win, that all starts with the preparation. You should be planning this out months ahead. You should be planning with your coach. All right, coach, I want to do this show. I have nothing in line. The reason why I feel so confident in this show that I'm about to do is because every one of my ducks is lined up. Health markers are checked. I have no vacations, no holidays, no commitments. You know, I'm not going out of town for shit. I'm just sitting here locked into this treadmill and get my steps in every day. You know, if you want to be successful in the sport, just line up a lot of perfect days. Bodybuilding is a marathon done in daily sprints. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of consistency to get where you want to go, but that doesn't mean that the execution or level of commitment or drive ever falls. You should be, every day should be your best training day of your life if you're doing it right. Every day when I go to the gym, that is the best training day of my life. That is the heaviest I've lifted, the best I've executed, and I'm just trying to move that needle every day. I'm not having days where I go in, I'm like, oh, I feel like shit. I'm only going 70%. I go in and I say, you know, if I want to be the best, I gotta train like the best. And in order to be the best, you gotta beat the best. And that starts with daily commitment and holding yourself accountable. So one thing that I think a lot of people are failing on that really needs to be reevaluated within themselves is effort level and how hard you're training. And are you training correctly? Because, you know, I feel like I really elevated my game, especially since coming off of my April show. And I thought I was training hard. I thought I was giving it 100%. But, you know, luckily I have Nick and Dennis that helped me tap into something else and find that there is another level to be found. That's coming from me. You know, I pushed effort. Go watch all my old training shit. I've been lifting heavy for years, but it's just different now. Every week I'm trying to get a little better. Every week I'm trying to beat myself. And if you're trying to beat yourself every day, that will quantify and you will be the best. You will win shows because end of the day, this is an individual sport. You're compared against your peers. You shouldn't be training any harder if someone has a bigger chest than you. You shouldn't be training any harder if someone has a better back than you. You should be putting out maximum effort every single day. And at the end, that's how you win. You know, I'm not training any harder because Nick is bigger than me, you know, or he has a bigger chest or bigger shoulders. I'm already putting forth maximum effort. And that's what gives you the confidence at the end of prep to walk away and be happy, to walk away and be able to hold your head up. You might not be content with your placing, but you should be proud of the physique and the package that you brought. And that goes into that daily effort. So I'm hoping if you take away anything from this, it is to go have a serious gut check with yourself. When I'm doing a chest press, am I keeping tension through my chest through the whole movement? Or am I pressing up and letting it fall? You know, these are things that you should be thinking of. When I'm doing a chest press, is the weight in my chest? Or is it transferring through my delts? You know, like pressing right here. My chest is completely, you know, flaccid. Pressing now down, you can see how my chest is being active the entire movement. These are things that you need to consider. Bodybuilding is not a game of moving weight. It is a game of activating muscle and building muscle. You should lift as heavy as you possibly can while maintaining the hardest contraction. If you are sacrificing contraction for weight, you are no longer a bodybuilder. You are a weightlifter. So all these things together quantify and make you into the competitor that you want to be. So I hope that some of these tips, some of these tricks resonate with you, that you're able to take a little bit out of this and apply it to your preps, apply it to your training, and become a better bodybuilder. And, you know, I'm really going to take note of some of the lessons that I am able to learn on this prep and be able to pay it forward. Because I remember one thing that I really loved that I did on my last prep specifically was I would record myself at different points of prep, talk about how I'm feeling, talk about what's going on, talk about energy level, training, you know, mental health, like how I'm feeling mentally. And that's fun to look back on. I had a point at like 6 to 8 weeks out last prep where I was just stalling, and I just got on and said, you know, this is shit. I do not like this. I'm not having fun. I'm not seeing progress. And then obviously I brought the best conditioning I've ever had. So those are good things to note. You know, it's gonna get shitty before it gets better. And typically the shittier you feel, the better you look. You just gotta get through that skinny fat phase where you're not peeled, you're not huge. And once you start seeing those daily changes, that's when the shit gets fun. So we all have our struggles. It doesn't get easier. You just get more used to living in the suck. So embrace the suck, you know, get better every day, and that's how you'll be a successful bodybuilder. So thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you for tuning in. I got 20 minutes or something left on cardio right now, so I'm just gonna crank this shit out. And as always, I appreciate your support. Please comment, like, and share. And as always, peace out, bitches.